Okay. Good morning. Thank you. We'll call to order at 7:31. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance when the kids downstairs. Oh, I'm sorry, they're not here. No, we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The first item recommended action is approval of minutes from the June 5th meeting. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. DeCourt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, no old business. Next up, project administration, bid document release authorization. Bid number 24-0022, Oakland Beach facade repairs. Mr. Goffberg.
Okay, in your packet, you have a bid release, invitation to bid, and the plans for this facade repair at Oakland Beach. As I reported earlier, a couple meetings ago, the upper facade is failing at Oakland Beach, and it needs to be repaired. Water's coming in, and it doesn't do us any good to have new windows in if we got water coming in above the windows. It's also a dangerous situation. Some of the brick is somewhat precarious, could fall. So we have a couple options in here. Mr. Guglielmo has put a brick repair, but we also are looking at as an alternate an EFIS, or commonly known as dry bit potential repair. I think the dry bit will be much more cost effective, but we'll see what it is. This is money that it's not been planned for. We did not budget for it, but it has to get done. We will find the money. I will report back once we see what the numbers are. Bids are due Wednesday, July 17th. So we seek your approval on the release.
Okay,
Happy to answer any questions.
any questions for Steve or Steve? When will they do back to 17th?
Yeah, they do Wednesday the 17th.
17th, okay. And then it'll come before us for the award, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay, all right. No questions, looking for a motion to approve bid 24-0022.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holmes.
Second.
Second by Ms. Glory. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, bid 24-0023, high school hazardous materials consultant.
Okay, because all the buildings that we're dealing with, as far as demolition, contain hazardous materials. We're going out for an RFP for consulting services to test and identify exactly where everything is. I'll turn it over to Mr. Bates, as he's put this together and done a hell of a job, so.
The RFP has been released. Like Mr. Goffberg said, we need to survey and get a understanding of the quantities of hazardous materials that are in the existing buildings. Eventually, the report will become part of the construction documents that we'll use for pricing to understand what the abatement process is going to entail and what the cost will be. So that's the intent for that RFP, and we expect to have bids back I believe next Friday. So
we're looking for your formal approval.
Any questions for Steve or John? Yeah, Mr. DeCourt.
It's gonna be a separate demolition contractor?
It will be subbed out through Demio, but we will not be able to seek pricing
Okay.
until we know until we identify exactly.
Everything else is inclusive on the demolition checklist per the state? Rodents, all that good stuff.
All the good
Yeah.
stuff. We're not even close to that, but this is
So I know,
different.
but just, if you're doing one for asbestos, all the other hazardous materials,
Yeah,
there's a laundry list that you have to go through, so I don't know if you're gonna address all those at once.
all the state requirements would be addressed as a part of these services, not just asbestos,
Okay.
lead-containing materials.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, so you're not doing things 3 times.
No. The intent is to capture all
Excellent.
required survey data.
And I'm guessing it's impossible to even estimate what's in those buildings, right? Because over the years, some of it may have been abated, and you just don't know, right? Until you
Not until you
do
start
that.
picking
like
away.
in the house.
Yeah. And
So
then
maybe
even,
in the walls.
Yeah.
and even when you do start picking away, as I've heard in this meeting, it almost seems like every meeting we have, we uncover
new hazardous materials because it's often hidden away in places that you just can't get to it.
Yeah, I mean, every building we touch, it's loaded with something, and we just hit something in Greenwood where there'll be a change order coming because we opened the ceiling up in the steel beam from 1958 or whatever at the time, lead paint. So we have to weld to the beam, and to weld to the beam, you have to remove the lead paint, so it's a chemical abatement. So we run into it all the time.
All right. Any other
People who
questions?
do this are pretty specialized, correct? A lot of places do not do hazardous, right?
They are special.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a specific trade, it's not a cowboy trade.
No, I know.
You know, it's hazardous materials are not messing around with, so.
Special licenses.
And especially when you've got a construction manager of Demio's caliber who's running it, they're not gonna let, you know.
Yeah, because that liability goes all the way back, right? If you knowingly, if you hire someone who doesn't have the proper licenses, they're gonna come after you, so.
Right.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Okay, I'm looking for a motion to approve 24-0023.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Glory,
Second.
second by Mr. Deport. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, bid reviews and awards, none. Recommended awards. Items 3A through G. Steve, what's the first one?
Take
GZA.
A alone. Because of the shift of the position of tollgate, we had to do some additional test pits. So GCA has given us a quote to continue with their work, $11,750 for the test pits that are shown on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 additional, 11 additional test pits.
And this was an emergency expenditure, right?
Yeah.
So we've already started that work. So
Right,
Steve reached
I
out.
checked with Mr. Test on that to go ahead, but we're seeking formal approval. We did not want to delay the project.
Any questions for Steve on that? All right, hearing nothing, looking for motion to approve GZA Environmental for $11,750. Moved by Ms. Danbrook, seconded by?
Second.
By Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, items B, B, C, D.
D are boxes for moving. We purchased those through Jada Trucking. So commercial bins, regular boxes, pop-up totes and commercial bins for the moves for Greenwood, Holloman, and then from Career and Tech, Tollgate to Career and Tech. So we seek your
You want
approval.
to take B, C, and D all at once?
Yes.
It's all for the same products, right?
Right.
Okay. Any questions for Steve or anyone else? Okay. Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve items 3, B, C, and D from Jada Trucking.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy. Second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E, Premier Office Installation, $6,550. Mr. Gahn.
This one is because of the delay of the installation of windows at Oakland Beach. We had the installation of the bookcases scheduled for first shift. Because of that delay, we had to shift to second shift. So that's the premium to go from first shift to second shift for the installation of all the bookcases at Oakland Beach.
Any questions for Steve? Is that something we would typically be on the hook for?
Yes,
That's
because it's not,
typical?
that was not caused by them. And we had a meeting, which we'll explain later, with Mr. Guglielmo and Berman, and it was certainly not on the contractor or the window installer. They did everything right.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve? Here none, looking for a motion to approve Premier Office Installations, $6,550. Moved by Mr. Bowl, second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Rhode Island Analytical, $3,168.
All right, this is for asbestos abatement project monitoring and air sampling at Greenwood. We had 2 bids, ECM and Rhode Island Analytical. Rhode Island Analytical was low by, I believe, $300 on this one.
Yep.
Yes, just under, yeah, and we seek your approval, it's required.
Okay, any questions for Steve on that?
Why is that not to exceed? It's not a lump sum.
Because it's, we never know what we're gonna find, so we're going with what we know.
Okay.
And it may not even be that much. A lot of times we come in under, but we try to do a not to exceed worst case. Actually, we found out that in the boiler room, where we assumed was hot, was not hot, so we're gonna save some money there.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Rhode Island Analytical for $3,168.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. Vole. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next item, G, Secosio and Associates for $1,600.
I don't know if the committee remembers this, but about a year ago, you approved to use funds left over from ADA, leftover funds from the ADA project to do a little more work at their playground. This is for the design for that added work. They want a structure and support in place because they have a large field of mulch that is problematic. So they're gonna take that mulch, move it to other locations and put some support in place, and there's 2 structures that they'd like. So the committee approved to go ahead with this last year, so this is the start of it.
Okay, any questions
Seek your
for,
approval for the design.
any questions for Steve or Mr. Guglielmo? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve Secosio for $1,600. Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Superintendent Danbrook. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, change order reports. Item 4A, all board construction, Greenwood Mechanical.
Yeah, there's one item on this change order report, number 3. This came to me late. It was, they said they sent it, I have no record of it, dated 3/11, but it was an expediting fee for the switchgear. As you know, we keep, the switchgear manufacturers are brutal. No matter what we do, how, they can't get it to us on time. The only way to do it is through an expediting fee. So it was a $6,000, $146 fee. I apologize. It's already been done. I seek your approval. I don't like the way this happened, but I believe it is fair.
So you have to pay off to get things
Yeah.
expedited?
Pure profit.
It's a game, and it's generators, it's transfer switches, it's switch gear. We ran into Oakland Beach where we were promised the guts for one of the distribution on 2 of the distribution panels. They were supposed to be delivered last month. All of a sudden, they say, no, you can't have them, and they're not done yet. Only way to get them is to airport them. So, it's things like, it's a constant battle.
Sounds like extortion.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't, it's Eaton, it's Square D, it's Siemens, it's the big players. And they're playing a game like, oh, that's an odd size breaker, we can't get it, we're gonna have to wait over and over and over again.
And that makes me worry about,
Now, there's plenty of time on the high school.
Okay.
We're looking years.
We are, that is under consideration. That's one of the first, if we,
It is the first enabling package
Yeah.
to be released by Dimeo in September.
all right,
For that reason, long lead times.
and just to, we want the equipment waiting for us, not the other way around. We don't want to be waiting for it.
Absolutely.
Steve, does the contractor pay anything towards this expedited fee?
No,
It's always the owner.
it's the owner.
My guess is it'll be a pass-through. I mean, it's.
It's who's to blame? Who's to blame?
It would be interesting to put wording into contracts with that to see if they would bite for it, right? So cost for that.
Well, the only thing that-
Maybe it's a 70-30 cost share or something, but. It's,
The only thing that I see is they'll play the game, they'll put it in the bid ahead of time.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, nothing's free.
Just like liquidated damages, right?
Yeah.
You can put them into your contract, they're incredibly difficult to enforce.
And
But even though they're difficult to
Yeah.
enforce without having incentives on the back end of the contract, contractors will still carry additional money.
they will anticipate running late, especially if it's a tight schedule. And we've had the discussion early on whether to do this or not, liquidated damages in our contracts. Juliana and I talked about it, and generally, if you do that, you pay for it up front, and they deal with it as profit, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve on the Greenwood change order? If not, looking for a motion to approve Aalborg for $6,146.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Calori. Seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, change order B, E.W. Berman, Steve.
Okay, we have a list here, and a lot of these are old, and I'd like to explain that Al Cagnagle, Steve, myself, and Mike have gone over these with a fine-tooth comb. We feel that E.W. Berman is aggressive with change orders, so we're looking at each one with a fine-tooth comb. We're not happy with the amount of them, but the ones that I'm bringing forward have been vetted, and we believe that we are responsible for them. So I'm going to go through them. Okay, look them one at a time and seek your approval. The first one is 11R1 on your list. It's for fire stopping. It's required by the fire marshal. The way we did this, instead of taking a lump sum, was do a time and materials, and myself and Al vetted every day to make sure that the time and materials that were used were accurate, and I signed off on all the slips, so I know that the time and the materials are true. Their original hard quote was $18,477, and because we did it time and materials, it came in at $13,744, so it was the right way to go. So seek your approval for $13,744.
Okay.
So I want to take these one at a time because
Okay.
it's critical.
All right, so looking for a motion to approve change order 11R1 for $13,744.
So
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. Holmes. Any questions for Steve on that? Okay, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carries. Next one, Steve.
Okay, number 19, VCT flooring repairs in selected area. In the original bid, we knew that we were going to have to replace some flooring. There's a lot of missing tiles with holes in it. So we went around and we looked at each area, and in the bid, there was a square foot price. We negotiated down from that substantially. And the other thing that happened is on the stairway that's at the front of the building that runs up to the first floor to the top floor, the original window that's there leaked before we got into it, and we lost about 70 feet of hallway flooring. So that was added, that was not included in the contract. We've looked at this, it's actually a very good number, and it's below the unit pricing that was in the contract, so we saved some money there. But it's still $20,056. I seek your approval there.
Okay, any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve change order 19 for $20,056.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, number 22 is, we have two ACC units that were planned to go on one side of the building, but when I further looked at it, it's right in the way where people are going to come with plows, and we found that the bigger issue is that the community cuts through Oakland, back of Oakland Beach, and they were going to hit them. We watched them every morning. It was not something that was anticipated. It's amazing. I don't know if you've ever been to Oakland Beach, but it's narrow behind the building. Nobody should be going through there. And there's 20, 30 cars a day that cut through for no reason. This stuff was going to get damaged. So we moved around, moved them up on pads, put bollards and fence around it so that nothing would happen to it. Short money for a potential long-term problem. $20,056 to secure approval. I'm sorry, no, it's not right.
17,491. Okay. Any questions for Steve on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't they already own a pad for these units?
They were not on pads. I wanted it up on pad. They were on stands. I wanted them up on pads. That was my request.
So we get a credit for the stands?
Stands are still there.
Okay.
They have to go on stands as part of it.
And on top of a slab?
On top of the slab, I want to get it up off, yep.
Top of the ground.
And is that's a road.
So you're gonna have to go out of your way to.
Okay. And any other questions for Steve on change order 22? If not, looking for a motion to approve change order 22 for $17,491. So moved by Mr. Bold, second by Mr. Lucy. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
As you know, number 23, the windows are going to be coming late, and there's gonna have to go to second shift on this. They would, we argued with this for a long time. We had a meeting, Steve was there, Mr. Guglielmo was there. You want to jump in on this, Steve?
Yeah, we met with the contractor. We felt that, originally, we felt that the onus was on the contractor to get the windows on time. But they proved to us that the factory actually pushed the schedule out. It wasn't the contractor's fault, it was actually the factory that moved the schedule out a month or 6 weeks on them. So it kind of blew their whole schedule. So we had no choice but to approve the extension.
We did negotiate it down. It was originally 42,000, and we got it down to 29.
This is just for overtime?
This is because the whole window install goes to second shift, yeah.
And they documented
We have,
from the manufacturer, everything that Steve said.
Yes, yeah, they showed us
It's in the
emails.
email.
Yeah, they showed us all the backup information from the manufacturer.
And the manufacturer's not on the hook? for
Moved the
this?
date.
no,
What can you do? You
I don't
can't,
know, I'm asking.
you know, I mean, they should be, but, you know, they hold all the cards. They,
Right.
you know, they have the
Yeah, well, they don't
windows.
ship your windows. Right, then they're just like, I'll delay shipping your windows and put you in.
and we looked at, we talked about, is there any way to expedite it? Because we, if you're paying 29 for overtime, there's no expedite.
And they were, all-
Hostage insurance?
Who's the manufacturer?
This is EFCO. It's actually Wausau. That's the other problem. There's only, well, I can sound the
There's
one
only a
company.
few companies.
One or
These
two
are hurricane rated windows too, and they take longer anyway.
Yeah.
But they delayed it by pushing it out even further, so.
was there an issue where Berman was trying to say we didn't need hurricane windows?
They did,
So does that contribute to the
Yeah,
delay?
that only took
Well,
3 days.
that's what we were trying to pin on them to say, well, you delayed your own work because you were pushing to not do the hurricane windows.
Right.
But that was only a few days before Al's office told them that they had to conform.
So not an.
So it wasn't-
Loss of time.
Yeah, it wasn't, the factory actually pushed it. I think it
They were
was like 6
actually-
weeks, Steve, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks,
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's documentation back and forth. Everything was documented thoroughly. So we seek your approval.
Okay, any other questions for Steve? PCR change order 23.1?
This is for work that hasn't been done yet, correct? The overtime?
Yeah, this
That's
is not.
correct.
So it's an estimate of overtime.
Well, no, it's according to their schedule. If they go longer, they own it.
Okay.
All right? If
What's the schedule?
they run till, worst case with weather delay, till mid-October. The windows do not arrive until they're shipped the 17th of August. They're gonna start on the 19th. There's very specific areas that have to get done first shift before school starts because it's too impactful on the classrooms. And then they move to areas where they can work second shift. But there's window walls that can't be done in one day. So we can't rip those out. So those are and then leave it open, obviously, board it up, so it's not safe, secure, for the students or staff. So those will get done first. and then we move to, second shift where they can do onesies, twosies a night, and they move through. Right, and the other thing is, of course, you lose light as you move into the fall. So we're hoping, and you lose a little time, so. But that's it, they own it, if they go long, that's all they're getting.
Okay. We vote on that one?
Not yet,
It's moved and seconded, right?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. The irony is they'll all be installed when hurricane season will end. Right? Hurricane season's over in October. So, all right. What else you got in your bag of goodies here, Steve?
all right, $2,467 for added electrical work for added condensate pumps that were shown on one drawing but not the other, so,
All right, so what's that? That's, number 24. Any questions for Steve on that one? Hearing none, looking for a motion to approve change order number 24 for $2,467. Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It carries.
I don't have a vote on number 23.
20, oh, I'm sorry, so 23, it was moved and seconded, right, Jenny?
No.
Oh.
I don't have it.
Okay. All right, so I'm sorry, we're gonna go back to 23.1, the window installation schedule. Looking for a motion to approve 23.1 for $29,889.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we vote on the 24?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Next, Steve, number 25, is that what we're going
25, this one I would like conditional approval, conditional upon Mr. Guglielmo checking some specs for me. I've gone through the specs, and everything I see says that we own any temporary power interruption. This is being supplied by the electrician. It's a little better rate than we could get from Sunbelt or something. But I've asked Mr. Guglielmo if he could check the spec, see if we can get out of this one. I can't find it anywhere. So
So do we not want to vote on this?
we will vote on it conditional approved on the condition that we can't find a way out, I guess. from the
Is
spec.
it possible just to table this, we're going to do it at the next meeting?
Yep, we can.
Yeah, let's table that one. No sense.
Okay.
You know, you're going to get a,
Steve, how much was the fuel for the generator? Why don't we just pay for the fuel? Because we own the temporary electricity. But
We
was this a planned shutdown for this generator
Mhm.
in between?
There's a planned shutdown for the building,
Right.
so now they're saying they need to
But
get
this is
temporary power to
this is
run.
why I want to check, but I'm letting you guys know that the committee know that it's there, they're seeking, we don't necessarily agree with it, but we're looking to, find a way.
so I think we push back.
Yeah.
Push back with Ahmed's line of reasoning and, you know, there's no harm in that.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to table that one. We'll revisit that at the next
How
meeting.
long is the shutdown for? How long they gonna be on the generator?
3.5 weeks.
Okay, so it's a monthly rate,
Yeah.
pretty much. Okay,
Yeah, we're talking, we're running the whole building.
right.
Okay. All right, so we're not going to take any action on 25. What's the next one, Steve?
26, 2,376. There's a bunch of conduit in the way and some additional RFP that we had to install because once we moved bookcases and file cabinets, we found them in the kindergarten rooms and in one area in the corridor that the bottom was just destroyed. It's in the temporary, what used to be the temporary buildings, those metal buildings. So it was all rotted down below from basically wax stripper. So we needed to cover it, but to cover it, we had to raise electrical out of the way.
Okay. Any questions for Steve on number 26? Okay, if not, looking for a motion to approve change order number 26 for $2,376.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded. Seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one, Steve.
Floor mitigation in the basement area, 3 rooms. We abated 3 rooms where they had asbestos tile. And because of the wet weather we've had, we actually had a lot of water in that area, moisture coming up. Floor would not be guaranteed. Previous projects, we decided not to go with this. Here, there's no choice. It was just too wet, so we had to put moisture mitigation down. So it's 3 rooms, $7,981.
Okay. Any questions for Steve on number 28? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve change order number 28 for $7,918.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. What's next, Steve?
29, going through the concrete slab up on the top floor, cutting through the roof. There was a conduit, main conduit feeding a panel that had no reason, no idea why it was in that slab. It shouldn't have been there, but it was. They hit it. We had to reroute it. $4,980.
Could that have been original to the building?
Yeah, the 1930s.
Okay. Any questions for Steve on that one? Okay, if not, looking for motion to approve change order number 29 for $4,980.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowl, second by Mr. Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Steve.
Next is response to RFI 36. There was a fire smoke damper issue. We had to add a damper and power doing because we had to reroute the duct to avoid some existing conduit we didn't know about, and $1,969.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, looking for motion to approve change order number 30 for $1,969. Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Mr. Kravitz and Ms. Glory. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next one, Steve.
31 is response to RFI 38. Power to the BMS, Building Management System panels. Power feeds were not shown on the electrical drawings. Feed those $15,759.
So where do the electrical drawings come from? So where from you guys? You guys do electrical drawings, so how do you how do those not show up? Because I'm curious.
I wasn't aware of this one. I'll have to look into this. Now, if it wasn't shown on the drawings, then I'm not sure what transpired. Do you have any information on that, Steve, as far as going back to the engineer to find out?
My suggestion on this is we
Let's
table this one.
Yeah,
Yep.
we find out. I'll have a conversation with the engineers on this one.
All right. Next one, Steve. Is it number 30? No, so 32 is nothing, right?
32 is nothing, it was already approved. 33 is, once again, in that basement. It's so wet over there. With all the rain we had this year, moisture is actually coming through the basement walls, peeled all the paint off. It was brutal, so we came up with a solution to clean it all up and apply dry lock extreme on it for the whole area. It looks like it's gonna work. I actually did this in my house. It works very, very well. So 6,874 should keep the moisture out.
Is it paint on or dry
Yeah,
line?
it's paint on, it's very thick. I've used it throughout my basement and it stops stuff cold. Works very, very well.
So is there things you can do on the exterior of the building to try to push water away? I mean, I understand we get excessive rain, the water temperature rise so high, but
Yeah,
whether that's with vegetation and just to,
No, this is groundwater. When we did the When we did the oil tank and we
Hmm.
did our borings, we had water 3 feet.
Okay.
Groundwater was at 3 foot level, yeah.
All right. Okay, any other
That
questions
was,
for Steve on that one? If not, looking for a motion to approve change order 33 for $6,874.
So
Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by
Second.
Ms. Glory. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Number 34, existing condition, we went into a panel and we found that in somebody's wisdom in the past, they switched all the 15 amp breakers, 20 amp breakers on 14 gauge wire. Once we touched the panel, we had to fix it. So to change all the breakers, $2,496.
How many breakers do they swap out?
The entire panel.
How many would that
I don't know off the top of my head.
be? A lot.
Yeah.
2,400 bucks.
Okay. Any questions for Steve on that?
It's also the age of the panel, trying to find the right breakers.
Do we know who did that work? Would that have been our own people? Okay. All right. All right, so looking for a motion. Is there any other questions for Steve on that? Okay, looking for a motion to approve change order 34 for $2,496.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
In the basement, again, we had to relocate exit signs, repipe. What happened was we had to reroute the 2 sump pumps. To do that, we had to get them above the ceiling, and then we had to lower the ceiling a little bit. And to do either way, we had to move the signs down so they're still visible. So there was exit signs on each side of the door. So it's 6 signs, relocate, repipe, $1,108.
Any questions for Steve on that?
They were contracted to put them in one place.
No, these were existing signs.
Oh, all right, I'm sorry.
All right. Any further questions? Okay, hearing none, looking for a motion to approve the final change order, number 35 for $1,108.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is that it for that, Steve?
Thankfully.
High total, $103,450. So I don't know how accurate that is. I might have missed one, but you're going to talk about this whole project later in your updates?
Yes.
Okay. Good, because I like to talk about that too. So, all right. Okay, next on the agenda, Timeo Construction items A and B, application 2, totaling $38,271.30.
These are the monthly invoices from Demio for their pre-construction work, application 2. So we seek your approval for $38,271.30. They're doing a great job.
Any questions for anyone on that? Okay, if not, looking for a motion to approve items 5A and B, totaling $38,271.30.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Bowl. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next, E.W. Berman, application number 6, $1,192,627.85.
This is their monthly requisition, been vetted by myself and Al and Mr. Iafredi. We seek your approval.
Okay, any questions? Luke, take the motion to approve. I'm doing this in the wrong order. Motion to approve E.W. Berman for $1,192,627. Moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Bowl. Any questions for Steve or anyone on that?
So the project at Oakland Beach, is it relatively within the ballpark of what we estimated it was gonna be at the beginning?
Nope. We are, if you look at the change orders. Total for the change orders to date, 179,000 over the original
What was the total budget, the original budget?
6.9.
It's 3%. Right, is that high?
No, it's average.
Okay. Okay. All right, so We're just waiting for a vote, right, Jenny, on this? Okay. Any other questions for Steve on Berman? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, items D and E for Garofalo, totaling $2,636.
This is for their final work at the Pilgrim and Toby site. Seeker approval for $2,636.
All right. Looking for a motion to approve items D and E for $2,636.
So
Moved by Ms. Calori, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Court and Mr. Lucy. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Jada Trucking, F through K.
All right, F through J
F through-
are our boxes that were purchased through Jada. So we'll seek your approval on those items first. $4,387.50 through 30.
Okay, so you want to
Down
take
to
items F
600.
through J, because that's for materials.
Right, so. shoot.
Okay, all right, so I'll be looking for a motion to approve. How does this differ from the recommended awards? Oh, that was just the award? Okay, then that's
Yeah.
the expenditure, gotcha, okay. So looking for a motion to approve Jada items F through J.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Superintendent Danbrook. Any questions for Steve?
Why not K?
We're gonna get that
Talk
one.
about K next.
All in favor?
Oh,
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item K.
K is for the move at Greenwood, the move out, so we could do the work, the HVAC work. What has happened with this, we've had to put them on hold. We are going to seek approval because they have done the work. But we found that, unbeknownst to myself and others, that when you move, you have to have a particular PUC license. He does not have that. So he's no more work from him or through him until he has all his ducks in a row. I mean, it's not, I talked to the PUC on this and they said they just want compliance. They're not looking for punishment. However, the way it's written, I didn't see it either. The way I read it was they just needed it for household goods, but not commercial moving, but they need it for commercial. So,
So are we not taking this one right now?
no, we are taking it, but I wanted to do an explanation
Okay,
because they will be they are put on hold until all licensing is in place.
okay.
So we will
After
correct
this.
all RFPs,
responsibility, right?
but all RFPs moving forward will cover this.
Okay. All right, so looking for motion to approve item K for $108,500.
so moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions for Steve? Okay, hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, next. Left field
I think you guys
invoice,
should look at this really hard.
$110,000 for
This is
June
for
services.
their monthly billing. They're doing a great job for us. I appreciate their work. We couldn't be doing what we're doing without having them on board. So I seek your approval for the monthly billing.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve left field for $110,000.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by Mr. Kravitz. Any questions for Steve or left field? Okay, hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Newton B. Washburn,
This is for the- This is the
$7,481.
final billing on the oil tank closure in the courtyard at Oakland Beach. There's two companies that work together. Hoffman does all the paperwork, and then Newton B. Washburn does the actual physical work.
Okay.
So this is the final billing for that.
Okay, looking for motion to approve Washburn for $7,481.67.
So moved.
Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Bowl. Any questions for Steve? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Next items N and O, Department of Health for $450.
As I've spoken about earlier, we have found additional hazardous materials at both of these schools, and this is for the application to DOH so that we can get our plans in and do the required abatement.
Okay, looking for motion to approve Rhode Island Energy, I'm sorry, no, Rhode Island Department of Health for
Don't be
$450.
that generous.
Moved by, was it moved by Mr. Kravitz, seconded by
Second.
Mr. Bowl. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, next, Rhode Island Energy, $50,722.22.
All right, this is for the work that needs to be done by, I brought this originally to the committee a few months ago. This is for you have to pay them up front before they do the work. So this is for the work that will need to be done for Holloman. Originally, they approached us for a $250,000 bill. We negotiated it down to $50,000, so. So I just told them, look at what we're gonna spend, and they go, oh, yeah, all right.
You paid up front. That's nice work if you can get it. All right, so looking for a motion to approve Rhode Island Energy for $50,722.22.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lucy, seconded by?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bowl and Superintendent Danbrook. Any questions for Steve? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next would be SOM Architects for $590,995.78.
This is the work of Pilgrim, get ready for their SD submission, and they're continuing work on the Pilgrim High School. We have a page turn tomorrow afternoon with RIDE. So we're keeping we believe that we will move forward. This is the first page turn with RIDE, with the SD documents. Tollgate will follow, but we're doing them one at a time to keep the meetings reasonable and it tends to, at RIDE, they tend to, if you have them both at the same time, it does not work out well, so we're gonna do them separate.
Keep them focused. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one project at a time.
All right, so we'll look for a motion to approve SOM for $590,995.78.
So
Moved by Mr. Bowl, seconded by Superintendent Danbrook and Mr. Kravitz. Any questions on this?
is this work billed hourly?
No,
No,
They've invoiced monthly. This would complete their schematic design phase of the project and also include some early design development. I think that their drawings definitely reflect being at a 25 to 50% DD level. Would you say, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a monthly invoice over the course of the project. You know,
It's appropriate value.
Okay, any other questions for anyone? Okay, hearing none. Call the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Secosho, items R through GG totaling $715,534.37. If there's no objection, I'll take them all en masse, but feel free to question Mr. Guglielmo on any of them.
yeah, this is for all the work all the design work, including the high schools
Right.
that Secosho and Associates is doing.
All right,
So
so,
obviously the big number is the high schools
Yeah.
and the other is progress billing on all the other projects.
Yeah. all right, so,
Where do we stand on the drawing?
They are, because of the repositioning of the building and the redesign, we're a little behind, but that gives Pilgrim time to get in and Tollgate to follow. So they're.
So are we almost complete, or where do we stand on this?
We're supposed to be complete with the schematic design on the 26th of this month.
and you put the hubby in the update too. at the end.
So basically, 2 weeks difference.
Mhm.
They made up a
No,
lot
I'm
of time.
just trying to get an idea of where the completion aspect is.
Yeah, I mean, remember, we have three submissions. We got SD, DD, and CD. So we have a ways to go.
All right, so we're looking for motion to approve Secosho items R through GG totaling $715,534.37. Looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by Mr. Lucy. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Guglielmo or Mr. Goffler? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Stephen Turner, items HH through MM totaling $6,811.
This is for their commissioning work for these projects. It's RIDE required. They've been the low bidder consistently on these smaller projects, so this is their progress billing for their work, $6,811.
Okay. Looking for a motion to approve Stephen Turner, items HH through MM.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Calori, seconded by Mr. McCaffrey. Any questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, Wally Associates, $14,471.88.
This is for work that was done for Christmas vacation. The committee approved this a while ago. This is for the move of the servers that were in the janitor's closet, which was the main access to get up to the attic to do the HVAC work at Greenwood. However, this invoice got lost somewhere in the internet between, I'm not sure where it was. I believe it was stuck in IT office. They didn't know what it was for. It finally came to us, so I'm bringing it to you for approval.
And Wally that's the company we use for virtually everything tech-related in the school.
Right, well,
department,
they actually bid this out to electrician and to two electricians in Wally. And Wally, signed that, I believe. So Wally was substantially lower.
All right, so looking for a motion to approve Wally for $14,471.88.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Danbrook, seconded by Mr. Kravitz and Mr. Bowl. Any questions on that? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. New business, discussion, project status update, Mr. Gothberg.
Okay, we'll start with my favorite project, which is Oakland Beach. Oakland Beach is a month behind. We will open for school. It will be ready. However, it seems to be dragging. I'm not pleased with the contractor at this point in time. I will ask Mike to speak about that also. They seem to be searching for change orders, as you can see. And we're gonna have to look hard if they're low. I'm gonna ask the committee to look hard at all the contractors when we bring them in for new bids as we move forward. Mike, you want to speak? on that?
Yeah, I will second that, for sure. I mean, there's lack of urgency, and push from the top down to the subcontractors on site. So, I mean, I've been involved for about 3 months now, and I noticed it right away that there's just no urgency. So I second, Steve's opinion on that matter for sure.
Who's the contractor?
What's that?
E.W. Berman?
And, I've gone off on them twice now, vehemently, and I don't normally do that. I just feel like they're not responding. So we will get through this project, we will get it done on time, we will deal with it.
Are they still walking up the job at 2:00 in the afternoon?
The electricians are working overtime. I don't see a lot of other OT. I push. I'm pretty much at my limit. They know they'll get done. They know that, we're gonna open the schools, so but it's the pushback that has actually pushed me over the edge, so.
And Steve's able to get, Kevin's able to get in there and stuff.
Right, we worked it out. We had to pull the mover out. The mover's delayed till next Wednesday. It's caused the cleaners to fall behind. It's a domino effect. And they complain about the cleaners being in the building. They complain about the movers being in the building. They're more interested in deflecting and pushing back than actually trying to get the project done. That's my opinion.
Yeah, Steve, and or myself have daily presence on site. It will get done. We are moving towards it, but it just takes a little extra on our end.
Getting pushed back from the owner or
Everybody.
everybody?
And what's their culpability for not?
Well, the project will be open for school, but that goes back to the previous conversation of, do you put penalties in, and do you want to pay, you basically end up paying for your own penalties, is what we found. So it's Mike's job and my job to drive this job to the end. We will get it done. We always do, but it's been painful.
How do they make you pay for the liquidating damages? So if you say you end up paying for your own penalties, how do they recoup it like that?
Well, what happens is, if say you have a tight schedule, okay, which all our summer slammers are a tight schedule, and you put in $1,000 a day penalty. They're gonna anticipate that they're gonna be late, so when they bid, they will add 2 weeks or whatever to, and they'll cover their own lateness.
You'll never know it.
And
Get both bidder.
yep, we see it all the time.
Can work against the school department.
Right,
Because,
So,
it's
and,
the same,
you know,
we've
and
got
it's-
the money covered, but what about the time?
right.
Now, it's still late, school
Right.
doesn't open, it creates a
And
huge problem.
and it's our job to manage and push, and that's what we do.
On future projects, and if they, I mean, I don't know what the normal and the legal steps are, but if they bid, I mean, you've had many come to Jesus meetings with them, so, maybe going forward on future projects, I mean, that all has to be considered, right? People around this table have had experience with Berman. If this is uncharacteristic, then, my question would be, why is it uncharacteristic? Is
Well,
this
the
the personality of a particular individual in the job that's kind of
We
going
had
rogue,
a
or?
similar issue at the Times, where they ran late, but it wasn't impactful. But Mr. Guglielmo was on the job, we remember we had a problem there,
Mhm.
finishing on time. Low bidder on this, but obviously I'm not pleased with the way it's going.
When we used them in Burrville in 2007 to build the library, it's a $9 million library, I vowed I would never use Berman again.
So it
Yeah,
seems
so I
to
mean,
be,
that's all things you have to remember.
It's weird,
I mean,
it was a long time ago, but it's
it's
interesting. to
a
hear.
reoccurring thing.
It's one thing if this was like a Washington Bridge where you put unrealistic expectations in your bids, but I don't think we're doing that because we'd have heard that from other bidders.
Well, this was a 7-month project, and this is project, if you look at what we did at Women, we did more work than this in 7 weeks at Women with a different contractor. We're doing similar work, little smaller schools this summer, and they're already on track to be done. But it's planning, it's getting all your ducks in a row, making sure you're ready to go. But if you have a 6-month project that other contractors are doing in 8 weeks, to me, it's maddening.
To Michael's point, we'd probably be, I've worked on a lot of summer slammers in my career. It's one thing if the leadership is really pushing and trying to get people to work and things just, you're not getting lucky with a lot of things, but it's a completely different story, as Michael said, if there's no urgency to the project, it's disrespectful to what you're all trying to do and get the schools open.
He's a Ward resident too.
Yeah, right, and that's, if you can, you want to do business as locally as possible. So, all right. What other project status updates do you have? Anything else?
I do.
Okay.
We have Greenwood, which is, as you know, we the contractor there, planned ahead, we got work done in Christmas vacation, April vacation, February vacation. They are in good shape. We run a couple of hiccups, but we are on track to get this project done. Steel's going in, ductwork's going in, they're running wild with the electrical work. They planned ahead, they got cans in on the electrical work, they went ahead and did the expediting fee, even though it wasn't approved to get it here, they took that chance. So they've done everything to get it going. Granted, it's half the size of Oakland Beach, but they'll be good and ready to go. Over at Warwick Neck, once again, it's a project that is forced down our throat by Department of Justice and the Governor's Commission on Disabilities. That elevator foundation should be poured today, I believe. And then they start either late this week or early next week with their masonry for the shaft. Demolition is well underway inside. The upgrades to the bathrooms on the 2-story addition. We did run into hazardous materials that were not anticipated on some pipe insulation hidden in a wet wall. So we got hit with that, but that should be wrapped up over the next couple of days, and they'll make up that time. So we're in good shape there. I feel that'll be open. The only thing that's gonna happen, I think I reported to the committee before, is that the elevator itself will be installed probably September in the shaft only, just the way the elevator go. They're always late. Nothing that anybody can do. The elevator companies work their own tune. That's all I can say.
All you see is two guys in the pit looking at drawings. That's all
Right,
you ever
right.
see.
All they do is find something wrong. They've come to us, and something that may pop is, they now require an additional steel beam on the top, not only so they can tie off separately from what is the weight from the machine hoisting.
Right.
So you need a separate beam, and it's not just, something to carry 200 pounds, it's like an 8-inch beam. So they now require it, and it's elevators, they dance to their own tune, that's all I can tell you. But we'll get it done. That work will happen in the shaft during, probably end up beginning of October.
Now, that's their new building at Jefferson Boulevard, right? That's the
Yeah,
national,
yeah.
for the whole country for the elevator.
Right.
It's
Who
quite a
was the
building.
contractor on that one, Steve?
That's all, bro.
Yeah.
Glenn knows this, but just remind him, there's like one elevator inspector in the state of Rhode Island. Try to
No,
schedule it right now.
we're good, and the elevator company handles that anyway, so.
Yeah.
It's, this is, the second one we've done. We've done a lot of, handicap lifts upstairs, so we're ready for it. And, my favorite discussion is playgrounds. So Greenwood and Hoxie are complete. Welk is underway. It looks to be done if weather and we can schedule the pour-in-place rubber correctly. It'll be done end of this month. Worst case, we go to the 9th of August. But that all depends weather and pour-in-place won't happen. Won't schedule until you show them and actually take pictures that you are physically ready to receive their product. And weather could affect that. So that's why I'm giving that leeway, but they're planning to be done by the end of the month, but things can happen. Weather's been brutal. So I think, and I'll report on the green building. Green building isn't under the purview of this committee, but we're doing some work over at Greenwood, the green building, getting ready for a program that's going in there, and Walmart is doing that also. And we're doing okay there. That'll be open also.
Cool. Any questions for Steve on any of those? All right. Next up is discussion action. Drum Rock to Career and Tech Move enabling work per Mr. Goffin.
Okay, the reason this is a discussion action is, as you know, we've talked about how we have to close Drum Rock early, which has caused grief from Ms. Glory and Mr. Kane. So what we're doing is all the programs that were in Drum Rock are Career and Tech, except for the transition program. So we're moving everything from there to Career and Tech. We have to do some what we call enabling work, which is getting some rooms ready to receive those programs. And then there's one program that will not fit in Career and Tech, so we have to do a trailer, classroom trailer. We're wrestling with that. So all that work, the trailer rental, everything, we have a guaranteed not to exceed price of
$620,547.14.
Okay, so, but what that money spent does, and this will come out of the bond, it allows us, because of the repositioning building that falls square on Drum Rock, it allows us to move those kids out, not have the kids have to go near the construction site. And the other thing is there's an elevation difference of about 12 to 15 feet from that Drum Rock building to the floor slab of where the new building is. So we would have to be a retaining wall. There's a bunch of things to do. Plus, it wasn't going to work. I'm more worried about safety of students going up there trying to keep that building open. So this is money well spent. It expedites the project, allows us to get going in March like we wanted to do and tear that building down early. And this is a guaranteed maximum price. The other thing that happened, we just found out yesterday, was that the trailer has to actually have fire protection sprinklers in it because it's over 1,000 square feet. And so that added a little number higher than we thought it was gonna be. But
Where's that trailer going?
just to the right of the Grand Tech building, that flat area,
That's here.
Gotcha.
okay? But that, we wanted to keep it as close to proximity as possible. It'll be set up for ADA, it's gonna have its own bathroom, it's gonna have fire alarm, it's gonna have water, sewer connection. So it's and fire protections, and phones, data, everything that you need, and that's why the number's so high.
And that will be there all the way until the new school is built.
So it's a 3-year rental, the rental alone is what, 215,000 for the rental of, so that's the majority of the cost is, the rental of the unit.
And I'm
then
keeping business that whole time?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's, this one is specific to child development,
got it.
okay?
So is that number for the 3 years? The
Yes.
682?
Well,
It's not
they-
for-
The 620 is to do the work and inclusive of the trailer rental for the.
For the 3-year term?
Yes.
It's not 600 a year?
And the reason we're renting through Demio is because if Demio's already, we've been out to bid with Demio. And they bid through, they solicited pricing through their purchasing. If we had to go out to bid separately on the trailer, we'd never get this thing done to ready to open school. So that's why we're renting through Demio.
It also is important for coordination purposes.
Yeah, makes things
And
much.
Vimeo's got, Vimeo rents a lot of trailers, they've got a lot more juice, I guess is the best term for it. When the trailers are in pretty high demand in Rhode Island, we've got a bunch of, Barrington just installed 4, I know, at one of their schools a couple months ago.
So what is the timeline? How quickly is that going in there, just so I can wrap my head around?
We should be ready to move in the second,
week of August?
yeah, yeah. So
Okay.
you should, we'll have 2 weeks to get things together there.
They're going to mobilize on July 16th.
So
We're gonna hustle, trust us.
No, I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about traffic and everything else.
Yeah, we're gonna have
It's
to
gonna
move,
come my
we have
way.
to move everything from Drum Rock down, so.
And so the action we're taking is to approve,
Approve the
The
enabling
enabling
work, the guaranteed maximum
the
price.
expenditures will come before us
Right.
as it goes.
Right.
And we know it's not, it's a
Right.
guaranteed 682, and your office has to make sure that
Right, and
it
then,
doesn't become 782.
I'll be seeking permission for the OPM team and this office to sign off on the letters of intent for each individual trade under the guaranteed maximum price.
Okay. All right. So anything else you guys want to add?
I think that's it.
Before we, okay, so I'm going to be looking for a motion to approve the Drum Rock to Career and Tech Center enabling work. That's what I'm looking for.
And all that
Motion to-
entails.
And all that entails as presented by Steve.
Move that.
Mr. Gravitz moves, seconded by Mr. DeCourt. Any other questions for Steve or anyone? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, discussion action, flow test requirement. Per Mr. Goffler.
This is for, it's gonna, happen here is that to find out if we need a fire pump at Tollgate, we have to do a flow test, with the water up there through a fire hydrant to find out if we have enough flow, water pressure to run the sprinkler systems that are gonna be, installed. So to do that, we talked to King County Water. They want an engineer to supply everything to do the flow test. They'll open it up. So pay our corporation $2,500 for the work that needs to be done to run that flow test. King County will not charge us anything, as far as I know.
All right, so we'll be looking for a discussion action, motion to approve the flow test requirement, expenditure of $2,500.
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Glory, seconded by Mr. Bowl. Any questions for Steve on that? Any anticipation that you won't have enough pressure?
I have no anticipation. I have no idea.
Yeah.
The way my luck's going, we will require one.
It'll tell you need 2 pumps. All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Next discussion action, tie and bond proposal for left field.
Yeah, so a couple of meetings ago, we approved Ty and Bond as the environmental engineer for both projects based on the qualifications package. That was not accompanied, as you recall, for the master purchase agreement with a price proposal. They've since submitted a price proposal for both projects totaling $13,500. We find that to be fair and reasonable, and we would ask for the committee's approval. This would be just for the ESA Phase 1 services. That's analysis of the publicly available information, interviews of neighboring people, so forth. Depending on what they find during that ESA 1, they may have to proceed into a Phase 2, which would be actual testing and sampling of what's there. But we won't know that until the Phase 1 is complete. So again, we'd ask for your approval.
So what do they test? Like the soils?
Soils for contaminants.
This first part, however, is really historical analysis of the site. So they go back using GIS and historical records and try to see what was on the site prior to high schools. With that information that they have, they develop this Phase 1 ESA, but it also helps determine where they would need to drill wells and things like that for further testing. As an example, I recently did one, and they did the historical analysis, and it turned out the site prior to being a school was a quarry for I-95 to get gravel for the construction of I-95. But before that, there was an auto shop on it. So that determined where they placed their wells to look for VOCs in the soil, spilled gas, things like that. So,
All right, so we're looking for a motion to approve the Ty and Bond proposal for $13,500. Moved by Superintendent Danbrook, seconded by Mr. DeCourt. Any questions for left field?
Yeah.
Mr.
Chris, they're gonna do a Phase 2 because they're gonna undergo storage tanks on the property, right? So,
They just aren't able to provide a price for that yet, because they need to complete this Phase 1 to see the extent of it. And then
but
if they
they'll
find
most
it,
likely be a Phase 2.
there'll most likely be a Phase 2, and if they find anything, there'll most likely be a remediation plan as well. So there may be 2 additional to this.
And that's probably a Pilgrim. They have underground tanks at Pilgrim, right? So you have the
Right.
backs.
Yeah, that's been replaced once though, but you don't know what happened previous.
Yeah, plus what the rules were whenever they got replaced. They could have tightened them up since then too, right? So you're going by today's standards.
also, you just didn't have there weren't the guidelines in place probably when they moved them that they're on now.
Do you expect any of tollgate with all that ledge? Did there be any underground storage there?
We have a gas building there. I don't think there was anything there before, so, but I wasn't here 100 years ago, so I can't really
Yeah,
say.
they had a couple of tanks.
That's close.
Right?
You also find them used at parking areas for runoff. So any chemicals that may come from vehicle leaking.
Okay, all right, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other questions for left field? Okay.
There's also the typical stuff you find in Rhode Island soil. Arsenic is very common in Rhode Island soil. It's not as prevalent down here as it is up in Smithfield for all the apple orchards, because arsenic was used as a pesticide, but typically there is arsenic in soil.
These might not be these. All right, so any other questions for left field? If none, call a vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, last item is discussion, the high school project update per left field. I think Jenny left a little update printout for everybody.
Yeah, as part of this, we will be, after the update, we'll be seeking approval from the committee to submit the SD for Pilgrim to ride on the next couple of weeks. So that'll be part of this. I turn it over to left field and Sam.
Yeah, I would just quickly say that the committee knows that we've undergone a very substantial value management analysis over the last several weeks. And as a product of that, both design teams have been incorporating the approved value engineering items into their documents for an updated set. As Mr. Gottberg noted earlier in the meeting, the Pilgrim team is slightly ahead of the Tollgate team. And they've completed their updates and they're ready to submit. So our targeted completion and submission date to RIDE is we'll call it the end of this month, the last week of this month. With that, Ed, if there's anything you want to add about
I think for Pilgrim, we've worked closely with the district and with Vimeo and with Left Field. We went through the VE process. We were able to tighten up the building without really impacting any educational delivery. There are two final milestones for us, which is in the next week or so, meeting RIDE tomorrow, and for them to confirm that they're comfortable with the educational level of the way the building performs. And then we're going to get pricing back from Vimeo in next week sometime. And I think with those two things, we can make any final adjustments needed and provide the submission to RIDE. So I think the end of the month seems realistic based on what we've been doing and as a group, how we've been working. So I think that's the overview.
And as part of the formal submission to RIDE, we will need in the meeting minutes an approval for that submission on the SD drawings to RIDE from this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we'll get to that in a couple minutes. Okay. Any questions for?
Well, there's some additional stuff outside of the program. Like, is that now a good time? Should we get through this program?
I want to just say that, you know, you mentioned I hate value engineering, I hate the term. I think it's got an awful connotation, but, you know, the overwhelming majority of those have all come from square footage, obviously, but materials, the constructibility part of things, right? It's lower ceiling height by 6 inches or rather a narrow corridor by 6 inches, right? And that's where the vast majority of those savings come from. So it's not as if you're just lopping off things here and there. I just wanted to put that on the record.
I think if we could get a formal approval of the committee approving the SD submission for Pilgrim.
Okay, but if that's not on the agenda, we can't take an action. But I think you need to do an SD submission anyway, correct?
Yeah.
You have to do that,
Right.
and it's ready. So I don't necessarily, you're talking about,
The RIDE requires,
so if you're gonna submit by the end of the month, you have to call a special meeting.
Yep.
Which we
what we could do a smaller committee, if you know, we do that.
Yeah, I'd be a
full
little,
committee.
I'd be more comfortable with the full committee, so if it's okay, we can just.
Well, what's the date for our next, is it?
Our next meeting, Jen, would be when? August 7th.
So how much advance notice, you need 48 hours?
It could be a single item,
So
single.
why
agenda
don't we
meeting.
see what Rod says tomorrow? Let's see when Vimeo's numbers come in, and then let's make that call next week.
Okay.
Because maybe the 7th is a perfectly fine date at this point. I'd like to see where things come in, and that way, we're not also rushing to hit a date that we've set today, right?
Yeah,
So we
and if we have to call a special meeting for a single agenda item, I would canvass everybody to see if a different time is better. Because it's a one agenda, it'll be a 15-minute meeting, probably, or a 30-minute meeting, right?
It'll be
Just
short.
want, so we want to accommodate everybody because special meetings can be a pain in the neck.
And is that when we find out what was cut, or what was?
So you've already seen what was, we had our value management, that's what I'm looking for.
Meeting presentation.
Yeah, we had our presentation, we went, so nothing beyond what we talked about has been removed. So,
Right.
yeah, exactly, that long list of hundreds. And you guys said, no, for some items, and you said, well, that's okay, decrease the building height, things like that, that's fine.
But the first step is see if RIDE is okay with it,
Rod's,
right?
we
If
don't
RIDE-
see any issues.
Yeah,
with
so if
it.
RIDE's okay with it, then the next step is, and this came up with the last night's school committee meeting, the next step would be, okay, put something material together. So now the school committee can see, right? And then at some point, when both schools are done, when both of those processes are done, then I think you have a public thing, because the schools are not gonna be identical.
They're not gonna be
They're not gonna
identical,
be
they are
identical.
gonna be equitable, because of the
Yeah, and
site,
they'll be,
and that's of
yeah,
course,
because of the site.
because of the site, and they're not gonna be, but they are equitable. That's
Yes.
the key thing to understand.
Right.
But I think more importantly, and this is the topic that I made last night to school committee, is I don't wanna rush showing people things that have not been approved by RIDE, that are still subject to change. And I tried to make this point last night, is that we have a substantial contingency on this project right now, and we have to, because of all the environmental engineering work that needs to be done, because of all the ledge, which is why eventually, Tollgate's budget is probably gonna creep up higher than Pilgrim's budget because of the ledge and things like that. We can add things back into the project very easily. It is much harder for us to take them away from the public after we've already presented them. If I tell you you're getting this, and then we run in, the environmental engineer says, man, you gotta truck 17 tons of soil off this site, then I have to take something away again. And in terms of setting expectations, and I understand that people, in the absence of us giving a large presentation, people are coming to their own conclusions. We saw that last night where they brought up the 750 person, is how they described it, gymnasium. It's 750 seats. It's not a 750 person gymnasium. Like you could, but I had to speak with that coach afterwards and the chair of the school committee afterwards to clarify that because they thought you could only fit 750 people in the whole
gym.
gymnasium, you know, and you can bring in chairs, there's other ways of seating people, but that was a disconnect. And I didn't realize it when they were talking about that because I thought so they do have a good point about that in the absence of us giving concrete information, people lean into rumors and, you know, they make up their own assumptions about what things are. But it's a delicate balancing act between us putting something in writing, putting it out to the press, saying this is what we are.
Right, but.
And it's a difficult balance. I personally think my professional advice to this group is we probably should wait until school is back in session for a number of reasons. First, people are checked out during the summer. You want a lot of public input. You don't want just the people that are super in tune with the project right now to be there. You want everybody. And that's from a lesson learned about people generally don't, you know, over the summers, I just learned that the people that are going to be present at these meetings are usually the people that have a problem with what you're doing. And that influences the rumor mill and things like that. And then the other thing is just as we talked about, and I think Steve brought this up right after I spoke last night, which is we need to have something that's been approved by RIDE because RIDE is going to look at these drawings and RIDE is paying 75%.
No,
roughly
55.
55, but
Actually, 49%.
49, but they're cutting a check for $175 million.
Yeah, and I understand, and it makes no sense to have a public forum for the sake of having a public forum. What you want to show at the public forum isn't finalized yet. Makes no sense, right? So to me, RIDE's going to approve this. You're going to have a list of adults. So when you do that, okay, here's what's approved. Here's what we're really thinking. Here are the adults. So now everybody knows, okay, if Mr. Holmes says, man, I really would like that. Well, that's an adult, so maybe it goes in, right? Because, you know, and I get it, but as I mentioned last night, you just hired Jimmy 2.5 months ago or 3 months ago. So, you know, you're not going to magically design something like that, and it just doesn't happen. So this is a process, and I just counsel patience for everybody.
It's very much a process, and we still have, besides this SD checkpoint, which we're not even through yet, we have 2 additional checkpoints that we have to meet, and RIDE will throw their weight around again. And then we can also start picking out some of these, we'll have better numbers for these ad alternates, right? And, you know, a lot of them will be site-based and things like that. So it's just, I think what it will also help though is when we have numbers. So like I was talking to a few people last night that came up to me and I said, you know, they said, how much does a seat cost? And I said, it's not just how much a bleacher seat costs or an auditorium seat costs, it's the square footage, it's this. So I think when you present those side to side, you say, what we currently have is on budget, but if you wanted an additional 350 seats in the auditorium, you're looking at a price increase of about this. It starts to put things in perspective.
Right. And we need to differentiate between the gymnasium and the auditorium.
Yeah.
The auditoriums have never been big enough to hold an entire school. It's rare that you don't, because you're never there, but the gymnasium does. Right? You don't have a pep rally. So you can fit everybody in the gym. Not everybody has to be in a bleachers.
Exactly. You don't need,
that doesn't exist now.
There are pep rallies 3 times a year. You really want to pay the extra amount of money to have 1,100 seats in your gym for the one time, for the 3 times a year that you're gonna, or can you have chairs and bring in chairs, or can people stand, or?
Yeah, and one, you know, like another example is you push to have an NCAA sized gym. All right, now an NCAA sized gym is 90, you know, basketball court is 94 feet long by 50. But once Steve and I looked at the regulations, RIIL and the National Federation of High Schools says, no, you're supposed to have the optimal size for a high school gym is 84 feet by 50. Okay, so that's several, that's a lot of square footage, and it ended up being like $500,000. So let's make it the size that's optimal for high schools. So that's where we moved. We had to have that discussion with the athletic director.
That got brought up yesterday as well.
Yeah.
So,
And ultimately, it's all wrapped around the budget. There's no more money, right? There's no more money beyond the 350. So, and everybody's got to be, and you can't, you can't compromise academics for, it's always going to be a balance. It's always going to, everybody knew that. This is nothing new. Everybody was aware of that from way back when, so.
And we
So
have
exciting.
been very clear to this group and to everyone else that things come at the cost of other things.
Yeah.
And classroom space is the most important in terms of your educational programming and what RIDE is going to support. So, if it comes down to an extra 100 bleacher seats versus a classroom, you're probably going to have the classroom.
Okay. So what else did you guys have to add?
That was what I wanted to talk about. I just
Okay.
wanted to touch base.
So do you
on
want to go any further into this with the timelines or whatever? I mean, it's, a little change from
Just
last month, but.
Quickly note, like on the back page is the schedule, and although, as we've been talking about, the design schedule shifting a bit to accommodate this value management process, the construction start date has not changed, the construction completion date has not changed. There was enough float within our schedule built in that we could accommodate some movement in the design phase, so I just want to make note of that.
Okay.
And one other point that I want to add, we've said that the toll gate design is a little bit behind the Pilgrim design, but that is not to anyone's fault. That is just a function of the amount of change in the design. So that's why it's about 2 weeks or so behind the Pilgrim design, but it's not to the detriment of the project schedule overall.
And that's RIDE driven, number one, because they changed their mind and said the school needed to be closer in proximity to the Career Tech Center. And then it's site. So, and that, it's the site thing, that's probably the scariest part of the whole thing, because you can't see on the ground. Okay.
Yeah, we've removed the interior courtyard, so that forced us to make some changes.
Yep. Okay. Are there any questions for left field on high schools?
I have a question just on the budget. I noticed that the construction budget on Tollgate has dropped on your estimate. It was originally higher than Pilgrim because we have a $5 million delta for the site work. Can you explain why it's $3.3 million less now than Pilgrim?
You're talking about how it's at 100.
It's 135.4 million, where Pilgrim's 138.8 million. Tollgate has $5 million more site work on that project. How could it be less of a construction cost than Pilgrim? That number seems to have dropped by like $5 million.
Yeah, the numbers probably reflect the cost estimates at the time, probably in proportion to what was being shown. I think that those have to be adjusted on the next report to better reflect the actual budget amounts. That's my best. I'd have to go back and look at that, but I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
And I think it is in proportion to where the cost estimates were falling when we put the budget together. But it's something to revisit.
And once we get these new SD numbers back from Demio, the budget will obviously
We'll adjust.
we'll adjust, we'll be moving, and also just because of our RIDE submission, right, RIDE, there's that little game you play with RIDE when you submit your project budgets to RIDE, you have to put contingency into hard costs, and there's other ways of doing it, but the numbers will change as we expect them to. And then as we've talked about, Stephen, just in general, because of the amount of contingency that we're holding, we do expect by the time the GMP is signed for the projects to be in cost inequitable. They're equitable in terms of programming, but because of the site issues that Steve has just mentioned, we do expect there to be premiums for the site work at Tollgate, and they will have a cost associated with it.
That makes sense. I mean, you can't expect each school to cost the same amount of money.
No, you're building, one is on a flat site and one is on a severely sloped site, but there's give and takes with both, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to be clear that we set $140 million budget for each one right now in terms of designing to equity, but at the end of the day, when we sign the GMP, there will be a difference in cost between the two buildings because of unknowns that we're working through.
Okay. Any other questions for anyone? At this point, public comment, Mr. Holmes, anything?
Nothing from me, Mr. Chairman. Your jobs are hard enough. Just know that you guys are doing a great job to provide great environments for educational learning, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, committee member requests for future consideration. Obviously, just reach out to Jenny, Steve, and myself. The next meeting will be August 7th. And at this point, we're looking for motion to adjourn.
Real quick, I'm sorry, vacations, does anybody have any vacations coming up? I just want to let the group know I will be gone, from Thursday, next Thursday, as well as the following week. Obviously, my team is here, but we've been doing this in a few, on my other projects about people's vacations in case people go away. Is anybody else, Michael, Steve, anybody that needs it?
I'm here. We're taking the summer off.
Yeah.
We'll see in September.
Nope, I just have one other wedding. That's it. All right, so at this point, we're for motion to adjourn. So moved by Mr. Holmes, seconded by Mr. Bowl. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you,
I
everyone.
know I am, but it's always good to get it.